Let's see. So Acuna's one. And then when do you pick next? I'm looking for you right
I
here.
picked in the 3rd round, the 21st pick overall. I picked Ranger Suarez. I love Suarez. And he had really good numbers last year, and he's going to be in the rotation. Last I saw, he was 3rd in the rotation.
I like him. I think he's in a group of guys. I'm just kind of curious. Why did you take him over like Tyler Malley or even Jack Flaherty, who has bigger upside, or even
Flaherty was hurt. Yeah, Flaherty is hurt. That's why I stayed. And I had Flaherty before, Rich, when he got hurt the first time, and then he missed like 2 months. I tried as much as possible to stay away from injured players.
I got you. That makes sense.
Yeah, and I like Suarez. He's younger than Malley or Male, however you pronounce his name, and he's a left-hander. Yeah. And left-hand starters that strike out batters are really hard to find.
I had Suarez last year, and he was fantastic.
Oh, he was. He had really good numbers.
I'm a little bit more bullish on him because how much is he going to pitch this year? Is he going to get I don't think he'll get 150 innings, but
that would probably be a ceiling, probably 150, I would think.
Yeah, and that's one thing that Malley can probably give you is more innings, but
he can.
I can see the upside. I can see the upside with Ranger Suarez. If he does what he did last year, for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, being 3rd in the rotation, that takes some pressure off. He's not number 1 or 2. 3rd, I think matching up against other teams' 3rd starters, I think most times he'll come out on top.
So I have your next picks being 6 and 7. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
You went for power, which is what I would expect. Jesus Aguilar into the 6, and then you double tapped and went Patrick Wisdom. And
that's right.
Yeah, I like Aguilar. I think he's going to put some good numbers. I think he'll be better this year, I think, because they got a better lineup.
And they have Garcia protecting him, too.
You didn't have another pick until round 6?
Yeah, I only had 3 picks in the first 6 rounds.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough.
That's why I say, I mean, maybe if I had 3 other picks before I got to Aguilar Wisdom, maybe I wouldn't have drafted them. But because I missed out on 3 rounds, I figured the power was going to be taken real fast at that point.
Yeah,
so I didn't really have much choice.
The only pick I got a question for is Wisdom. And just if you're going power, did you not think about Jesus Sanchez?
No, I did. I heard Aaron talking about him. I did not know as much about Sanchez as Aaron does. And then when I looked and I researched on him, I saw where there was another possibility that he may not start in center field. They have another center fielder, the Marlins.
Who's the other guy?
He's a faster guy. I think he doesn't have as much power and he steals bases, but I can't remember who it was.
Brian De La Cruz? I think they
sent
him
think
to
so.
the minors.
I think it was him.
Yeah, they did send him to the minors, but yeah, he is a faster guy that can play center field. So then you went double tap in the 8th and 9th, and I like both these picks. Devin Williams.
Especially Williams, yeah.
And then Frank Swindell in the 9th round. So you got 2 first basemen early, though. That is interesting.
I did, but Wisdom can play third base. So
that's true. Well, that would be 3 if you counted Wisdom.
Yeah, because I got Aguilar too. Yeah,
without
3 first basemen.
Yeah. And then you got Lorenzo Kane, which I think is a great value pick.
Yeah, I'm not happy with that pick, Rich. I picked him because I wanted more stolen bases, and I saw that the stolen bases were kind of hard to get. And I knew that if he was healthy and he has a decent spring training, I think he can hit like 280 again. He's fallen down in average for a few years, but I think he could hit 280. And I think if he gets on base, they're definitely not going to not steal him. I mean, he's got to steal some bases.
Yeah, I like Kane. If you want to trade, we can work out a deal with
Maybe
Lorenzo
we'll see.
Kane.
Yeah, we'll
And
see.
then you double tapped with, or you went three in a row, Tony Gonsolin and Art Warren.
Yes.
And
Yes,
so,
and my Gonsolin pick is going to pay off. He's already probably going to start now for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
do you think
I
he's going to hold that job? I mean, they have
Oh
so
yeah,
many. I mean, what
he's
about
better than Tyler Anderson easily by far. But I took Anderson later in the draft because I wanted insurance. One of those two guys was going to get the job.
Haney? Do you worry about Haney? Oh,
I I was not up for Haney. I think Haney gives up too many home runs,
yeah, that's been his problem.
and
But
I
the
don't like that.
Dodgers have fixed people, so I'm just
Yeah, yeah. Oh, he
curious.
will pitch better as a Dodger, I'm sure, Rich. But still, the long ball's always been a problem for him. But the Gonsolin pick's one of my favorite picks in the whole draft.
yeah,
Okay.
I thought that was a very solid pick when I saw it.
And then Art Warren, I like Warren. I think he does have a chance to close. Um,
Yeah,
but he's
I
young.
do
It's
too.
hard to know.
Yeah,
And then you went with Alicia Hernandez, who I think is a
yeah. That's one of my favorite players. I had him last year, and he was hurt, but he came back, and I just like his stuff. I think if he can stay healthy, and I think he's supposed to be fourth in the rotation. I really liken him to maybe a little lesser version of Rogers for the Marlins.
I think he has good stuff. I don't know. Didn't he like,
He
and I'm
doesn't
not,
have. He does, I don't think he strikes out a lot.
he's got a big
Oh, he's
slider.
about one an inning around there,
Yeah.
I think.
Does he?
Yeah,
Yeah. He's
yeah.
got one inning and he's usually has,
And he doesn't walk a lot of guys either.
it's just a matter of him staying healthy. So
Yeah.
you,
But Rich, at that point in the 12th round, if you can get somebody with that upside, I mean, you got to take him. You know,
and
I
then
can't believe nobody else drafted him.
yeah, no, he was on my board. I would have probably taken him. I possibly would have taken him over Zach Eflin. So I think I would have taken him in the 13th round if he dropped because I had
Yeah,
him in my queue at
right,
that point. So
right.
I don't think he would have lasted long past that. And
No, probably not.
um,
Probably not.
then right after that, let's see. In the 14th round, you took Darren Ruff, who's an undervalued pick. I can
Yeah, and
see.
also he can play the outfield and DH. And that was the other reason I thought, well, if he doesn't DH, then he's a platoon player. And then I don't want him really. But I had him last year too. And I thought
Right.
if he DHs when he doesn't play the field and he gets 450 to 500 at bats, I think he can put up some nice numbers.
If he gets the at bats, that's the key. And then
Yep.
that is the key. I love your Bender pick. I would trade for
I
Bender.
was waiting. I thought you
Or
were going to take him, Rich. I kept telling you, you better pick up Bender to go with your closer. And you said, yeah,
I,
I'm going to do that.
I should have taken him where I took Kim, but I was thinking I needed to lock down a third baseman. But I mean, because I knew
Yeah.
somebody's going to pick him. But I should have taken Bender at that point. And then you
Yeah, I
took
thought so. Yeah.
I did like
Verlander
your
in the
Kim pick there in
15th.
the 14th.
Now I have to be honest with you. I didn't even know who Mark Verling was until I went and researched him, so I know he had a really good minor league season last year.
Rich, when I got to that point, I just needed some outfielders. And I looked around at the depth charts of all the National League teams, and it was hard finding a starter. It was hard finding somebody that I
Yeah.
thought probably has a good chance of winning the position. And I know that Odubel Herrera is injured right now.
And
And I know
sucks.
that they're a little soured on him right now. He didn't have a very good year last year.
That's Rich's guy right there.
Yeah,
I've taken
Odubel.
him a lot just because he's a value pick. Um, and then
Yeah.
you took Peralta, which in the 16th round he's going to play every day. I don't know if it's good or bad,
Yeah.
but he has the
You
potential to
know,
play every day, and you
you
can
know
plug him
what?
in.
He Rich is not going to help in home runs. He's really declined in power, but he's not going to kill you. I mean, he'll hit 270 to 280. He'll hit around 10 to 15 homers. He might steal, six bases maybe, and he'll score some runs and drive in some. He's kind of just like a backup. I don't even plan to start him. That's just kind of for depth.
Yeah.
Right. And
17th round players tend to be that way.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
and then you took Tyler Anderson and Kyle Farmer. Um,
Yeah, I needed a shortstop. I didn't even have a shortstop on my team at that point, and I thought, well, who's going to start? And I looked, and I know Farmer's going to bat at the bottom of the lineup, but I just needed a body. I mean,
Yeah,
there was slim pickings at that point.
he's a
How did you get?
starter.
How many picks did you trade last year? I'm surprised you didn't have any more higher picks than you did.
I traded my second, fourth, and fifth round picks, I believe, toward the end
Wow.
of the year, after the All-Star break, because at that point I was like in fourth or fifth place.
Yeah.
And I wanted third place really bad, and that helped me.
You gave up
get
a
to
lot
third.
for it.
I did give up a lot, yeah.
And here I
did.
thought, I'm still like,
I've got to have
had
one
it-
of these years where I don't trade away any of my early first,
I know.
couple of round picks, so I can actually have a decent draft.
And then Anthony offered. So my two picks. believe
He's
it or
like
not,
Verling, except I think Alfred's starting actually.
I hope he does. He's from Hattiesburg, which is where I live. So I hope he
Okay.
does.
Very good.
I doubt it, but I hope he does.
With the Pirates, it's hard to tell because they don't really have too many positions that are like guarantees besides maybe Hayes and maybe one other position, and that's about it.
or one
Now,
pitch.
now, Rich, you were right about something. The last time we talked, you told me you thought Cruz might get sent down to the minors, and they did. They
Yeah,
did send him down, but I think he will be back up
Yeah.
before the All-Star break, definitely.
Yeah.
I think he'll be back up in a couple of weeks. I don't think he'll be
Yeah.
long.
I'm surprised they
See,
did that.
that's another reason I wasn't in a hurry to take a shortstop because I knew I had Cruz, and once Cruz comes up, he's going to be in the lineup. I mean, I'm not going to sit him on the bench. That's foolish, you know.
That's true.
So that's why I waited till the 17th round to take a shortstop.
My favorite pick that you picked is probably I'm going to give you two guys, and you probably
Okay.
wouldn't pick these two guys, but I would say Anthony Bender when you picked him, and
Yeah.
then
14th round. Yeah.
yeah, I thought that was great value pick because he's a really good pitcher, and then I really
Yeah, I have three Marlin pitchers on my team, Rich.
well Marlin pitchers are good. I like
I told you
Kane.
they have. I think actually, besides maybe the Dodgers and Braves, if they get back their full contingent of starters, I think the Marlins might be the second or third best rotation in the National League.
I think they can be. Yeah,
Yeah,
they've
they
got a
can
good staff.
definitely.
So that was my favorite picks. My worst picks or my least favorite picks is probably you got too many guys that I'm not sure they're not going to be more than platoon players. And Patrick Wisdom's one guy.
Okay. Yep.
Darren Ruff is another guy.
Yep.
And then the Philly player, Burling.
Oh, Verling. Yeah, Verling.
Yeah,
The only thing, Rich. Oh, what came up here? Oh, you looking at my team roster now? Okay.
Yeah.
The only thing, Rich, I can say about those three picks is the DH is in the National League again.
that's true.
So now that they have the DH, Darren Ruff doesn't have to play the outfield. They got to put somebody in there.
They
And for
have
a guy
so
that,
many players that can do that, though. They got Wilmer
yeah, but
Flores,
how many players do they have on their
Bill,
team that can hit that many home runs?
Jock Peterson.
Yeah,
They
I would
Mont
rather have Ruff
Hayes.
than Peterson. I would definitely rather have Ruff than Peterson.
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
It's
because
hard to say.
Peterson's average is always below 240 or 250 maybe.
Darren Ruff is 35 years old.
Yes, but look at Cruz for the Nationals.
Yeah, I know.
Darren Ruff had a great year in a part-time role. I mean,
He did.
Darren Ruff is not Nelson Cruz.
That's true.
No, he's not. He's not. But
Yeah,
I'm just saying there's an older guy that's still doing
Yeah.
it. Some
Well,
guys
Votto.
have that ability.
Yeah.
Look at Joey Votto last year.
Yeah.
And my last comment is in a only league where depth is so hard to come by.
Yes.
At bats wins your leagues because I try to have 500 more at bats than the second place team because I
Yeah.
feel like I can gain 20 extra home runs and 7 or 8
Right.
steals than the
Right.
next team.
But I think, Rich, you got to agree that when you don't have three of your first 6 round picks, you've got to take chances at that point. You know, when I picked in the 6th round, I was like, I can't believe these guys like Aguilar, Wisdom, Schwindel. I cannot believe they're still available.
I'm with you, Kim. I mean, I have you right there. Honestly, I have Justin, you, and then me as the next 3, and I think we're the 3 kind of grouped together. I have
Yeah.
you ahead of me, but that's kind of where I have us being ranked.
I agree. I agree with you, Rich. The one thing that I didn't do that a lot of teams did, though, is I did not pick anybody that's hurt right now. And some teams pick some injured players. Some teams have like, yeah,
I
3 or
did.
4
Don't
guys
forget about that
that
one.
are hurt right now. I
You're
can't
right.
deal with having a lot of injuries. That really hurt me in the first half of last year, and I think the year before that I had massive injuries. I mean, at one time I had 7 guys on the DL, and of course you can't keep 7 guys. Somebody's
No,
got to be in the lineup, so I had to drop some of those players.
you're right. I mean, that's a good point. So
You know, it's my theory about injuries and it seems like teams that have a lot of injuries early on usually get healthy by the time the second half rolls around, and those teams that hasn't had a lot of injuries get hit in the second half normally,
Yeah,
but there's exceptions to
yeah,
that.
I agree with you. You know, last year at one point, I don't know if it was like in the 2nd month of the season or the 3rd month, but I was actually for one day, maybe 2 days, I was in first place actually with like 70 points. I can remember. And then it was like Little League Baseball and Rich just went right by me. I could never catch up. Never.
Rich goes by a lot of people
Oh,
every
he
year.
does. That's why it was so hard trying to make comments about his team, because I know the team that he has now is not going to be the team he ends
I
up with.
know.
but
Same
it's
with you,
hard.
Aaron. Same thing.
I'm
It,
telling you, like with Rich, like I think it might have been 2020. I had a commanding lead. Maybe it might have been 19 too. And Rich was kind of back in the pack, and I was trying to get him to do a deal to basically that was basically him giving up on the year. And he's like, I'm gonna give it 2 more weeks. I'm like, come on, man, let's make this happen. Because I knew if I
Wow.
need to knock Rich out. If I get Rich knocked out, then make the path to victory a lot easier. And he wouldn't do it, and he came back like he always does.
Yeah, of course. You know, there's 3 or 4 teams in the league that if they get down after 2 or 3 months, they tend to sort of fold and not even keep really trying to improve their team. Maybe for the next year, but not for the current season. And you two are definitely not 2 of those teams, and I don't ever fold real early either, as long as I can pick up some players off the waiver or free agents and try to improve some things. But if I get to like late June or July and I'm in 6th or 7th place, then I know it's over.
Yeah.
yeah, you got to know, but you're still trying to find those players that can help you.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely,
And
definitely. I look every day.
it's kind of fun sometimes to find those unknown players that do good.
Yep,
So,
yep, definitely.
Aaron, who's next?
All right. So where do you had Kim finishing like somewhere between 4 through 6, right?
I believe either between, I think Kim and Justin to battle it out for 4th right now would be my call.
All right. Well, I have Justin, so let's go ahead and do
Yeah,
Justin.
let's pick Justin.
All right. Here's his team. O'Neill was a keeper. Um, Tatis is a keeper. I still to this day think it was a mistake keeping Tatis as a keeper. I understand why he did it. I just don't agree with that decision. But like I said, having DeGrom, Webb, and Scherzer as um, keepers, that's tight, and um, he didn't need to do a lot of work in pitching. And I think most of his draft early on was spent taking offense.
Yeah.
So my let me pull up the draft here.
Who did he have as starters that he kept before the draft? Because I know I'm looking at his draft each round. He didn't take a starting pitcher until the 8th round of the draft.
He had Scherzer, DeGrom, and Webb.
Yeah, that's really good.
Tatis,
That was
and
they're
O'Neill.
probably the top 3 of any team that
Yeah.
had that many keepers. Even my keepers weren't that good.
Yeah, like I said, he traded back in the 8th. Like I
Yeah.
said, for who he took.
Oh, that was a good pitcher. That was a good pick.
He took Suzuki in the second round, and personally, I know why he did it, and it may pay off. But to me, it's a little bit high, especially if
Yeah,
you
I
didn't
think
have
so.
a first round. Like there's a lot of question marks there, and you have other guys that might reach in. But for every Shohei Ohtani out there, there's the Shogo Akiyamas, there's the Kims of the world that don't quite measure up. And he said it. He said it to Rich and I during the draft that basically this pick is going to make or break him. And like I said, there's a lot of risk here.
Wow.
It's a little bit more risk than I would have liked to. I like the more early rounds. I like the players with lower risk, and that's one of my I guess worst picks. I did have another pick, a pick that I thought was the worst pick. It kind of a worst pick too.
Okay.
And that was Ian Happ here in the 5th. I was
Yes.
like, I was in the draft and obviously looking at outfielders, and I saw Ian Happ, but I had him much lower. I was even okay with Brendan Rodgers. I'm not as high on, even though I had him last year. I wasn't quite as high as apparently Justin was on him, but still, I'm okay with him taking Brendan Rodgers there. But Ian Happ, he is a strikeout machine. Yeah, he can hit the long ball, but like I said, there's Adam Duvall that was there. There was Escobar. I'd take any of those. Hendricks, I'd have taken Aguilar. I would have taken there over Ian Happ, and that's why I thought he was not a very good pick too.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
My favorite pick was Jesus Luzardo here. You were already talking about the Marlins pitchers, and I've been a fan of him over in Oakland and coming over to the National League. Actually, I had I don't even know whether it was what you would call a bet with Jason, because during the waivers last year, he picked up Kyle Gibson. And I ended up taking Jesus Luzardo off of waivers there at the waiver deadline. And I was giving him all kinds of grief. I'm like, man, like Luzardo is going to be a much better pitcher than Gibson. Granted, neither one of us took Gibson, but like I said, Gibson was drafted like 6 spots before Luzardo. I don't know whether that's a major win for Jason or not, but I do like Luzardo there at number 8.
Yes, I like that pick too.
You know who I like I like his 13th round, the Nelson Lumet. It looks like he might be the closer.
Oh, and by the way, I will have to throw this out here too, because I know it's being recorded and it will be on YouTube. He took an hour to pick each one of these players. And the Tommy Pham, I knew he was going. I figured, I'm like, okay, which players? When you're waiting an hour, you're like, okay, what player is Justin going to take? I'm like, he's going to take Tommy Pham, and I'm like, he's probably going to take Harrison Bader. That's who he's probably going to take. Yeah, I figured that out in about 15 minutes. And he told me that he was actually for the Harrison Bader pick, he spent all that time trying to decide between Harrison Bader and Jesus Sanchez. Then he decided on Jesus Sanchez and realized that he got picked like a round and a half earlier. I'm like, you dummy. Anyhow, I had to throw that in there. But you said the 13th round?
Yep. 13th round to Nelson Lumet.
Yeah.
And he's the leading guy to be the closer in San Diego. So
don't say that, man.
if he is, that's great value. Yeah.
So I I too like Lumet, and it's probably worth a shot there in the dark. As much as it, like I took Pierce Johnson, but I think the Lumet's probably going to be in the bullpen. And actually, I'll take it back. He's definitely going to be in the bullpen. He does
Yes.
have like closer stuff, but because he's been a starter, I think he's probably better suited for a multi-inning role, and I kind of where I see him landing. They do have a lot of bullpen talent,
Yeah,
and
they do.
he could easily end up as a closer, but my money is on like either Pierce Johnson or Suarez.
Let
So
me throw one thing in about Justin's teams. He always builds pitching first, and that's different for me. And I always look at hitting first, especially when you're looking at teams. And I think his strength is pitching, and then he tries to finish middle of the pack and hitting. But I really think if you look at his roster, Grom, Webb, Scherzer, we all like Luzardo. I really like Mikolas coming back as a late pick. Then he's got
yeah,
Bednar, Lumet. He's got Chris Statton who can steal saves. So his pitching is really strong. And
so,
I agree with you. I wouldn't have taken Suzuki that early, but it could be a a pop up guy that exceeds our expectations.
yeah. Um, Speaking of that, I did read an article where basically Bednar will probably split saves with Stratton, which okay, he has both of them, but are you really going to play both Pittsburgh closers every
Yeah,
week?
that's tough to do. That's
I'm
tough.
like, if it was San Diego or Los Angeles, yeah, maybe, yeah, sure, like you might be able to roll with that, but like
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, they might win a game or two each week, and I don't. That's tough to.
I think
That's tough.
That's true.
Bednar's a good enough pitcher. If you look at last year's numbers, he's a good relief pitcher, regardless if he gets saves or not. And I think you keep Stratton just. I think there was an article something about Stratton got 8 of the 11 saves after Richard Rodriguez left.
Yeah,
So Stratton could steal some, but I think he's a better pitcher. Bednar is. So
yeah.
I think he just keeps Stratton on the bench as kind of a in case Bednar gets hurt, or
I
the
don't think it's a long
Pirates.
term solution.
Maybe the
Personally,
Pirates trade Bednar for prospects, which never do anything. So
yeah.
could
Yeah.
happen too, and then Stratton becomes the closer.
So, what I think Justin needs, me personally, I think his off, Tati. I'm ruling out Tatis in this analysis because he's going to be out at least 2/5 of the year. You know,
Yeah, and he's a fourth year player for him. I didn't
yeah,
realize that.
yeah. Like I said, I don't have any idea why he didn't drop. Why he kept him. I would not have kept him. But anyhow,
Mm.
so in my opinion, most of his offense is involves a lot of risk. Kind of a
Yep.
sketchy offense, and he only has like the one Pittsburgh. Well, he has two Pittsburgh closers, so I think more stability in his offense. If Suzuki comes out and crushes it, maybe he doesn't need any more offense. But like Tommy Pham is getting kind of older, and he has this fascination with Harrison Bader. I don't know why. Nemo, he could bounce back. Happ is a train wreck. Moustakas is on the back end of his career. Crone, I'll give, that's a solid pick. Molina, he's another old guy too. So I think he needs a little bit more offense. His big three on his pitching, he's going to kind of keep him in the race. Um,
Yeah.
but I think he probably finishes in the top 5. He has a shot to finish in the top 3, I think.
Yeah. I think he's like my team. He needs certain guys to have, like better than expected years, like some of my offensive players.
Yeah,
And we both basically have good pitching staffs. We just don't have solid offenses, I would say.
yeah,
Although I'm one of the few teams that probably has two guys that if they were healthy all season, they could combine for 100 home runs. So I don't think too many teams can say that, you know.
Yeah. All right, Kim, who do you want to?
I guess I'll do Rich. Rich was first on my list.
Go
All
ahead.
right.
Oh, Rich, this was hard. This was really hard.
Give
I
it
don't.
to me.
This is like me having to talk about Belichick as a coach or Mike Krzyzewski or somebody like that, you know, who's been
No,
so Rich. You've been so successful. How could I put you down?
no,
Um,
it's fine. This is my 5-11 season, so go ahead.
oh, I don't think so.
Have you had a 5-11 season? I don't think you
Happy
have.
football. Yeah,
Oh
Yeah,
my
you did.
gosh.
there was a year I think Kim won that I was pretty far back in the pack.
I had 95 points the one season. I know I beat Josh, I think by like 15 or 20 points.
And I pretty much I stayed active, but I traded my whole team.
I remember that, Rich. I remember you were never pushing me at all that year. I was
Yeah, no,
lucky.
That's kind of an asterisk year for you there, Kim. If Rich
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
pushing you,
probably.
then you have to give yourself an asterisk.
Yeah, I guess so. Definitely.
my
Uh
dad is
Boy, this
big.
was hard, Rich. This was hard because the team you have now and the team you'll have at the end of the season is going to be completely different. I don't mean that you're going to trade everybody on your team, but you're going to make the necessary adjustments as the season goes on. Am I excited about your team looking at it right now? No, I'm not. I think you're in the same boat as me and Justin. You want me to go through the draft first?
Yeah, you can, or you can
Okay.
tell me, whatever you think my weaknesses are.
Tell us
Well,
what his best pick and worst pick was.
Yeah, go ahead.
okay. Best pick for me was two different picks, Rich. I think taking Pollock in round 8. I wanted Pollock so bad at that point, but you beat me to him and I couldn't get him. And I just think for the numbers he puts up, there's nobody after the draft at that point that's probably as all around stable putting up numbers as Pollock. And he plays in the best offense in baseball. So that was a great pick. And your other pick, the other great one, in the 17th round, you took Walker, Christian Walker.
Yeah,
Why didn't anybody else pick him before that? You know, he's a starter.
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't know.
that's
He
why I
plays in a
took him.
good ball. He plays in a good ballpark, Arizona. I mean, I just don't know how everybody let him go by. I didn't need a first baseman. That's why I didn't take him.
He was hurt last year and didn't really play great last year.
Well, but Rich, for the 17th round, you're not going to find many guys with his potential. That's what I'm saying. That was a really good pick. The worst pick, Rich, for you, I didn't like the Floro pick.
Okay.
I just thought
What
he
round was
had a
that?
decent season last year, but in my mind, I don't see him as being somebody that's going to hold the job the whole year. That's honestly what I thought.
Okay.
The other pick I didn't like, and it was for a similar reason. I know you like this guy. You've had him last year, I think, and I know you've had him, Aaron, I believe, too. But the other pick I didn't like was in the 5th round, you took Conforto.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about my guys maybe not getting enough at bats and the potential and everything, but Conforto had a really bad year last year. Really
He
bad.
did. You're right.
His
Well,
power really dropped off, Rich.
I, I
And
I'm
I
sorry.
think for the 5th round, that was a really risky pick that early.
It,
I'll throw this out there for that pick. When he made the pick, I thought it was a decent pick because I thought, okay, he'll sign on with the team and he'll put up okay numbers, even if it was he's going to get a 1-year deal, so it's going to be a prove it type of contract. So I thought the pick was okay at the time. However, now it's a week later and he still hasn't signed. There's a good
Yeah.
possibility he goes well into the season without being signed. So yeah, from looking at it now, in my opinion, it is a much riskier pick. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. You can comment on any time. That's fine.
in
Yeah,
my
Rich, I mean,
defense on
I understand.
Conforto.
Oh,
Yeah,
go
in
ahead.
my defense on Conforto, because I didn't want to answer. I picked him
Yes.
up when he was first drafted as a prospect, when he came out of Oregon in the 10th pick overall. I believe I had him on my minor league team.
Okay.
So I've had him on several good teams. So I probably have a soft spot for Conforto to start with.
Yeah, I understand. I just thought probably you could have got him 2 or 3 rounds later. Because I don't think anybody would have picked him in the 5th round,
Really?
besides you, Rich.
Okay. Well, that might be true. I probably do overvalue Conforto a little bit. I can agree with that.
Other than that, I didn't see any other picks to me that, stuck out as being bad or unnecessary. I mean, I like that Walker pick in the 17th round. If he stays healthy the whole year, that's a steal, Rich. Definitely a steal. I have you finishing. Of course, this isn't going to happen because you're not going to keep the same team the whole year. I know that. But I have you finishing right where me and Justin are finishing, in the middle of the pack. Same thing. Your strengths as a team is your ability to make moves. And also, I thought you are probably pretty good in saves. You have a lot of saves, I think, estimated at least. But now with Floro, if Bender comes in and starts the closer and he does really well for a couple of weeks and then Floro comes back, maybe Floro doesn't get the job back.
That's true. That is a concern right there. And
Yeah.
you're right. I didn't really mean to take Alex Colomé for the I meant to take,
Oh.
but I accidentally double clicked. He was in my queue. So I kept quiet because I just figured maybe it was fake. Maybe I was meant to take him. And maybe he's going to have a great
Well, he looks like he's going to be the closer to start the year, at least.
He will be.
Trade him to me, Rich.
Trade him. I will
See,
do
Rich, that's what I'm saying about you had Floro, and then 5 rounds later, you were able to get Colomé. Or 4 rounds later. I'm sorry, 4 rounds later. You could have probably got Floro then, too.
I didn't think I could at the time. And I wanted to get I wanted to get one of the 6 or 7 closers. And I had Floro in that range. And I think Bednar was the last one that I really liked.
Yeah.
And I liked Floro better because I think the Marlins are a better team.
Yes. Now, the only other weakness, Rich, that I saw was I think right now on your roster, you only have 5 starting pitchers.
It's a definite weakness. You're exactly right.
He's already kind of. I'm not going to announce what your strategy is going to be, but you already announced what your strategy is going to be, so there will be some activity there.
That and I'm looking, honestly, you already mentioned your love of AJ Pollock.
Yes.
We might possibly be trade partners. Because
I knew that was going to happen.
I do like Pollock a lot. He makes me really nervous because he gets hurt a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
He plays at such a high level, it makes up for him being hurt. But he still scares me. So I understand. We probably good partners because I like Kane better than you like Kane. You like Pollock. Maybe we can figure something out.
Okay. We'll talk, Rich. Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, so Rich, if I compare like you to Justin and me, you will be able to probably pull off better trades to help your team than either Justin or I will. I think my strength when I have to improve my team is probably through picking up free agents, honestly, because I take gambles on guys. I see a guy have one good week and I'm all over him, or if somebody fills in for somebody and they take off and right away I snatch him. It's tough to do that though if you have like 2 or 3 roster spots being taken up by guys that are injured but not on the DL. That poses a problem.
You're right. You got to be.
Yeah, that happened to me. That's happened to me the last couple of years where I wanted to pick up somebody, but then it meant I had to drop one of my injured players who I thought was better than the guy I'm picking up, but they wouldn't put the guy on the DL, and so he sits on your bench for 2 weeks and he's not on the DL and just wasted a roster spot. So I don't depend on trades as much as you do, and I don't think Justin does either. But I work the free agent pickups quite often. And so does Aaron, by the way.
Yeah. So we probably should speed this up to make it a little bit more manageable video.
I can do yours quick.
I've got 3 compared to you guys each have 2. So I'll do the next one. So
Okay.
we'll even it out. I'll do Will next. Will seems to be a favorite team for a lot of us. So I think all 3 of us think that Will had a really good draft this year.
I think so.
Agree.
I know Starling Marte is a highly rated, and he was highly rated in the draft. I probably wouldn't have taken him at 1.5. I probably would have taken Manny Machado there. Maybe even Nolan Arenado. I'm not going to call that a bad pick, but it's something I would probably have done a little bit differently.
He definitely had to do that, probably because of the average and the stolen bases, I think.
Yeah. Well, he's
They're
getting
estimating him. I mean, CBS is estimating him to have 50 stolen bases. Really?
Yeah, I know. Like I'm okay with drafting an older power hitter or an average hitter.
Yeah.
Speed's the first thing that goes, and like when you get up there mid-30s, I don't know whether I'm liking a speed guy at mid-30s.
One thing to think
that's
about
true.
is 33. You're
Oh, is he
hoping with
30?
your first pick, you're keeping the guy for 4 years. There's no way he's going to be a keeper past
Yeah.
maybe this year or next year, and that's it.
I think Manny Machado would have been
That's
a
true.
much better pick, personally.
Safer pick, yeah, safer pick.
I wasn't a huge fan of Chris Taylor there. He's more of a utility guy. He has good numbers, but he was in a contract year. He's like 30 right now too. I think my favorite pick has to be Tyler Malley at 3.2. He's a solid player. It was a real a solid pick for him. He didn't necessarily reach for him, but kind of fell to him. And like I said, I think probably my.
But Aaron, do you feel Malley being the ace of the Reds to start the season? Do you really think he's capable of winning like even 12 games? I mean, most of the guys he's matched up against are going to be better than him. He's not an ideal ace.
Yeah, but like I don't really get into the whole like ace of the thing matching up against other aces. Like as the season goes on, like the Reds might start off with a 6-man rotation, or they might go with a 4-man for a little bit until Castilla comes back. So you can't really tell. Like at least I don't really put a lot of stock into that. I do like the Kyle Hendricks pick at 6.6. Carlos Carrasco, he didn't have a very good year last year, but I thought it was a pretty
and
good.
he's had arm problems for like 3 years now. That's very risky. Very.
Yeah, but from what I've read in spring training, he's supposed to be healthy and ready to go. I'm not a big fan of the Charlie Blackmon either.
No, he's seen better days.
I like him. I think it's a okay pick, but
Oh, you do?
yeah, I mean he's not going to hit you for a lot of power, but I think he's a solid veteran. He plays in cores. I don't. What round did he take him in? The
8th
9.
round.
Or is it? Yeah.
I like him in that round. So
yeah, compared to like the other players there, yeah, I might have taken Yastrzemski.
That's the same round you took Pollock, Rich. 8th round.
Well, I like Pollock.
I'm higher on Pollock than I am on Blackmon.
Yeah, I agree. I think Pollock's better, but I do like
At this stage of their career, yes, definitely.
I would have liked taking Tommy Pham more than Blackmon. I'll take that back. Maybe Blackmon. I'll take scratch what I just said. No. I think Cesar Hernandez in 10th round was a very solid pick too. He's going to be at top of the order. He has good average. He's probably going to score a good chunk of runs. So I think he had a pretty solid draft overall.
Is Moran going to start for the Reds? I mean, I know he's not going to play first base because Votto's there. What will he do? DH?
I think he's probably going to be more of a general platoon
Utility?
guy.
Like first, third base?
Yeah, DH, third base. It seems like they've invited everybody to camp. So it's hard to.
Yeah.
He's going to probably be probably might be the first bat off the bench.
Gotcha.
But like overall, like we think he has a really decent team. He had Nola as a keeper, Wainwright. Even though he's 40 years old this year, he had a couple really good solid seasons. He's the opening day starter for the Cards. Um, yeah, like I said, he's got a solid team. He's going to probably lead the league in stolen bases. At least that's what I got him down for.
Yeah.
He could probably, um, yeah, like he probably should use some of his stolen base strength to. I've got him down for a low ERA and lower WHIP. Um,
Yep.
So he might be able to, trade some of that for pitching. So that's probably what I would do. But I think we all think that Will had a pretty good draft this year.
Yeah, I
And
think so.
it might be because I have a feeling that some of his picks were auto picks. So it'd be interesting to know how many were auto picks and how many were his own picks. So,
Let me blast him for one pick.
all right.
Joey Votto.
Oh boy.
Oh, no.
Joey
Out all the
Votto,
picks, you're going to blast him for Joey
I'm
Votto.
blasting fourth round, 38 years old. I know he had a great season, but if you look at the historical data, guys being above the age of 35, returning the same value next year, it's not real high. I mean, I know there's Nelson Cruzes out there that seem to defy aging, and then you have
Yeah.
Hall of Famers. And I know Joey's a Hall of Famer, but if Joey Votto hits more than 25 home runs, I, I'd almost be willing to go to China. In will in China, go to China and shake his hand. It's not going to happen.
Oh boy.
That's my bold prediction.
I will have to
Rich,
say that I would probably have taken DeSclafani, Ryan McMahon, Eddie Rosario
All above
above
Votto. He still had
Votto.
a good team. Could have been better, though.
Yeah.
yeah. I kind of feel the same way about the picks right after that, Wainwright and Hendricks. I had Hendricks last year at the beginning of the year, and he started to go downhill, and then he kind of came back a little, and then he never really found it throughout the whole season. Those were the worst numbers he posted easily in the last like 6 years. And
Yeah.
Wainwright had an awesome year last year, but I don't see him duplicating that. I think both of these guys are going to have a hard time doing better than what they did last year. I just don't see it happening, or even doing as well as last year. I don't see Wainwright being able to do that.
I'm I've been dogging Wainwright for at least 2 years now, ever since he had that really bad 2018 or 19,
Yeah.
and I've been off him. So I'm thinking that maybe he's proved me wrong for 2 years in a row. That maybe if I get on his bandwagon, then maybe he'll do crater and the Cardinals will suffer. So that's kind of where I'm
Okay.
reverse
Yeah.
psychology.
Right.
But I can't, he is 40 and, Verlander's doing it and Greinke's been doing it and, Wainwright seems to be doing it too. So,
I
Yeah.
listen to a
Well,
lot
we'll
of
see.
podcasts, Kim, and one of the podcasts I listen to talks about stuff and how different pitches rate. His curveball was rated as like the number one curveball in baseball.
wow.
So he's basically got one good pitch, and everything else sucks. But one thing he can do with all his pitches is locate them. So they were saying, even if he throws an 88 fastball, it's like on the corner for a strike or whatever else he throws. And then he's got this great curveball that nobody can touch. So I don't know. I'm mixed on. I would have taken him, but I
Yeah.
would probably waited. But Votto's my guy. So, Hendricks, I don't know what to think about Hendricks. I partly think he can rebound because he's been so good in the past, but I don't know. So I'm with you on that.
Well, all I'm saying, Rich, is I'm thinking taking two pitchers at that age, and after coming off the years they had, well, Hendricks wasn't good last year. He was average. Wainwright was excellent. I just think that it's still risky for taking two guys like that. I think it's very risky. I would take a much younger pitcher.
You're right. Hendricks is what, 32, 33? And then,
Something like that.
yeah.
I mean, he's got excellent control. He doesn't walk a lot of guys. I'll give him
32.
that. Yeah, 32. But he just came. Last year he just did not look right last year.
He doesn't
I had
strike
him.
out a lot, and that's why he falls. But
Yeah.
if you look at his numbers, 2021 seems like a aberration and not the norm.
Yeah, I would say so, but that would still concern me a little bit.
All right, Rich, who would you like to do next?
Oh, I'm doing you, Aaron.
All right,
All right,
let me have it.
All right, Aaron, I love your double tap at 2 and 3. We talked about it. I love Juan Soto, Matt Olson. They're going to give you 65 home runs, 200 runs, 200 RBIs. You're going to keep them 4 years. I think that was a great double tap. I thought it was the best play over Walker Buehler, even though Buehler might be a better player and might have been a better individual pick. I think the double tap for power and home runs is going to help your team. I really loved your Chris Bassett pick. I have to say, I really considered taking him at 11. So he's a favorite of mine. I like Clevenger, though I might have leaned a more conservative guy because I worry about his innings. I might have taken Malley, but I have no fault with Clevenger. I think that was a good pick. And that gives you 2 strong pitchers along with Woodruff, which I think is a good deal. Then going into round 3, you took Grisham. And I think he's a good power speed guy. I think he's a good play. I think he was hurt last year, and I expect him to rebound a little bit from the numbers he put up last year. If you look at his 2020 season, he was on pace to be a 27-27 guy. And I don't think he's quite that good, but I think he could be a 20 home run, 15 stolen base guy because he had a hurt foot, ankle, something along those lines. And then you didn't have a pick for a little bit. Until round 6, you took Duvall, a good power pick. I really liked your pitcher when you took. I liked Alex Wood as a pick in late round 6, and then I will tell you I questioned a little bit your Rojas pick in round 7. I like Rojas, and I like the fact that he gives you second base, shortstop, third base, outfield eligibility. But I worry about you could have got more power right there. But I like him. Sanchez is a power guy. I think there is a potential that he could bust. But I also think there's a potential he'll be a keeper next year and hit 30 home runs. So I like I'm okay with the Sanchez pick. I really thought Jonathan Villar was a great value pick. I will tell you, I thought the Gavin Lux pick in round 9 was way too early. He's blocked from his position. The first guy off the bench that's going to fill the position is going to be Taylor. So if Muncy can't go at second, it'll be Taylor first. And I just it's hard for me to see Lux getting at bats. I think the talent's there, but I think you could have taken Lux in like the 11th, 12th, or 13th round and could have got him.
Ooh, I don't know whether he lasted that long.
I think you would have. At the time, round 10 for Suarez, I still think he's got a chance to close there, but who knows? And then you took Finnegan in the 11th. I think he's going to be the starter. The question is he any good really? He's kind of like taking a Colorado closer.
Yeah.
Do you really want a Colorado closer? I don't know. I got one this year, so I doubt.
Colomé, you're going to trade him, Rich.
Yeah, I better trade him. Pierce Johnson, I like. It's a backup pick. He could end up being the closer in San Diego. And then Mitch Keller is a good late round pick, at least the way he's throwing the ball.
That one surprised me though because I had Mitch Keller. I drafted him as a minor player, and I had him, and he just has never really been able to put it together.
He sucked. I mean, I agree
He
with
does
you.
suck. He
Yeah.
does.
But at least he was throwing 100 miles an hour, according to TikTok. And
Yeah,
then
I understand.
he's had a really good spring training. At least the numbers show
Yeah.
he's had a good spring
I
training.
mean, it would be nice if he, has a decent season. I don't wish anything bad, against him, but I suffered with him. I was really high on him when I drafted him.
That's the one thing about having somebody that really performs well or sucks. You get jaded from that person. I completely get that.
Yeah. Yeah, you do, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it's a long shot, but you're in the 15th round.
Right.
He could be
They're
this
all long
year's Trevor
shots.
Rogers. You
Yeah,
know,
he could be the ace of the Pirates this year. It's very possible.
or
If
he
he
could
It
actually
shouldn't
has
be
be
hard to
confidence.
do.
he
Yeah, it
could
won't be
have
hard to do. You're right.
6 ERA and killing your team the first 3 months of the year.
Yeah.
So, you know, but overall, Aaron, I like Keston Hura as a
Keston.
late
Yeah.
round pick, especially when I looked at how good he's doing in spring training. He's one of those guys you keep for 2 weeks to start the year. If he's playing every day and he's hitting, then you throw him in the lineup. If he's not doing anything, you drop him after 2 weeks. So I like him because you're going to know pretty early if he's any good or not. And then who was your last pick, Aaron?
It was my catcher, Nola.
Okay, I didn't like your catcher, Austin Nola, but there wasn't a whole lot to choose from.
Yeah.
Nope.
Overall, Aaron, I thought I have you number one. I could be wrong. Might be biased, but I just think you have a good blend of mix of speed, power, and a lot of young guys that really haven't had their best season so far. But you know, I could be
I'm glad
wrong.
you picked Aaron and not me because you jinxed me last year, Rich.
I jinxed you. Well, I did.
Damn
I
it,
thought you
Rich.
had the best team.
Thanks, Rich.
But there's so
Yeah,
many,
thanks. Yeah.
so many things that go
It's
into
like the
the
Sports
season.
Illustrated cover. You're on it now, Aaron.
Darn
Yeah,
it.
Or the
it's so
Madden.
many.
You're on the Madden cover.
It's yeah. There's so many different things that go into a season, and I sometimes think the draft gets overrated.
Yeah,
But
I think so.
there's so many in-season plays that you make, pickups and drops, and that.
Well, do you know, Rich? If you have injuries, which everybody will have, the key is you don't want your best players injured. You don't want your top 5 hitters or your, top 3 or 4 pitchers because when they go down for significant time periods, week here, 2 weeks here, the guys that aren't your strong performers, they can't make it up. That's like with Acuna with you last year. It was amazing that you still won, even though he went down half the season. But that just goes to show you had a well-rounded team, or that would have never happened.
Well, I did through trade, so yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah, I was
still.
able to make the moves, and I
Yeah,
think you know, Kim, you've always been pretty aggressive. I think sometimes that's hurt Michael. In my mind, you felt like you traded or dropped players too quickly, and I can see that. But I think maybe he could have made some trades, and I'll say this with Justin. I think last
yeah,
year he could have made a trade and
yeah.
possibly um, stayed in the race with me. And
Yeah,
by
it's
him
possible.
sitting out, it helped me.
Yeah. I would like to see Mike Davis have a good year. He's got a good team, but he cannot, some of the trades he makes are multiple people. I mean,
Yeah.
like 5 or 6 players offered for 3 or 4 players. I mean, those kind of trades are hard to it's even hard to determine if they're even fair trades. And so when he sends me trades like that, I just reject them. It's too many
Well,
players involved.
I do like dealing with Mike because if you send him an offer for a player, pick your player, um, he'll send you back what he would want for that player. So like I think in the off season I sent him an offer, for instance, to go Lindor. 'Cause I thought he might have a bounce back from last year, and it wasn't based on his performance. It was basically based on his performance last year, which wasn't good, and he rejected and sent me back an offer, which was much higher than I was willing to pay. But he actually sent me an offer based
Yeah.
on what he would want for it, so I appreciate that. He sent me that back, and I'm like, okay, apparently he wants a lot more for Lindor than I'm willing to pay, so I get that. So I do like dealing with Mike. He's like I say I know where he values the players, and a lot of times he values his players a lot more than I would, which is kind of natural, but at least I know where I'm at.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I got to give him that.
Anything else on mine, or you want to go to somebody else's?
Let's go, Kim. Who do you got next?
Yeah, let's talk about Mike, Mike Davis.
All right,
right.
might as well.
Okay, so let's see. I go over his draft real quick. I think after Aaron told me when we were talking before you came on, Rich, he said he thought maybe Mike had the best keepers, and I did not really pay much attention before the draft, but looking back, I kind of agree with him. The first pick that he took in the draft was a great pick. I mean, it was the best pitcher available, but he is so far and above everybody else that was available in the draft that it was a slam dunk. I mean, Walker Buehler, there was nobody even close. I think the next closest starting pitcher they had rated was Luis Castillo as a starter. And that's oh my God, that's a big difference between those two. Big. Anyways,
Buehler was the number one pitcher in most NL most rankings in the NL. Only like Buehler was number one.
And it was great fit for him because he had 4 hitters in one pitcher.
Yeah.
He really wanted Olsen though, if you can believe that.
Oh my gosh. Well, Mike does like offense. He's like you, Rich. He likes offense also.
I do favor offense, I have to say.
Yeah. The second pick, Ozuna, I wasn't high on that. I know Ozuna's got a pretty good history. I know he hits home runs. I know he drives in runs. He's in a really good offense. But that year off, and he's getting a little older, I don't know what to expect from him this season. Honestly, I thought maybe could have waited a round or two later. Pablo Lopez, the third pick, that was a really good pick because I love the Marlins starters. So I think he's solid. Good round 3. Cronenworth at round 4, maybe a little bit of a reach. I mean, Cronenworth does bat at the top of the lineup, and he will give you some steals. I don't know what are they projecting on home runs, like around 20 or not?
Yeah, I think around 20 is where he's
20.
Yeah. So he's got to probably score like 90 to 100 runs to really have a good season. If he scores less than that and he's at the top of the lineup, then he's either not stealing enough or his average is not good enough or getting on base, you know. So at round 4, taking a second baseman, that was a little risky.
Did he Luke Voigt? He had a keeper shortstop, right? Okay, that's right.
Lindor.
Okay.
Yeah, Lindor, yeah.
Go ahead.
Luke Voigt, from all I know about him coming from the Yankees, I know this guy's got a lot of power. I know that. And then he doesn't have to play first base because the San Diego's got Hosmer, who's much better defensively. So I'm sure Hosmer will play first. And Luke Voigt will probably DH. San Diego, not the greatest ballpark for home runs, though. That's going to hurt him a little bit. But I guess at round 4, there probably weren't many true power hitters available like Luke Voigt.
First basemen are a little thin. The position is a little thin, and I think that's if I had to critique his draft, he probably focused a little bit too much on position availability and not taking the best overall player. But
right. But he's like me. He likes home runs too, and Rich, you know that.
Right.
I like the pick of Steven Matz. I think Steven Matz can win close to 15 games this season with the Cardinals. The Cardinals probably are the favorite in the Central, I would say. Would you agree with me, Aaron?
Yeah, probably. Either them or the Brewers.
Yeah, either them or the Brewers. And I think Steven Matz, if he can stay healthy, he can have a good season with the Cardinals. They have a good defense behind him. Contreras, I was not too excited about this, but this probably was one of the. I only had him down for one least favorite pick, and I think Contreras in the 5th round was the pick I was not high on. I think he could have waited a couple more rounds. I know Contreras has power. I know he's going to catch the majority of the games, but I don't think the Cubs are going to have a really good offensive year. I look at their team, and if Wisdom and Schwindel don't come through, they don't really have a solid lineup. So I wasn't high on that pick. Lucas Sims in the 6th round, that was okay. At the time, I'm sure Mike thought he had the closer role, but I was a little leery about him because of the injury status. So, you know how some closers, if they're injured at the beginning of the year and they don't come back for 2 or 3 weeks, if the incumbent comes in and he's saving one game after another and it's lights out, sometimes the closer doesn't get his job back. You guys know that.
Yeah,
especially if they're not established.
that could
Yeah,
happen. Sure.
yeah, that can happen. I like the pick of Strasburg in round 7 because I know he's hurt. I know maybe he doesn't start for a couple of months, but Strasburg at round 7, you can't find too many starting pitchers that are as effective as he is if he's healthy. So I wasn't soured on that pick. It just seemed to me from that point on that some of the picks that Mike was making, I wasn't too crazy about. Will Myers in the 8th round, he had a decent year last year. He's okay. You know he's going to get 500 plus at bats. You know he's got to start.
Right. Yeah.
Eric Lauer, I was a little confused about that pick. He had a good year last year, but I had him before he turned it around. And while I had him for about a month, he was terrible. I mean, awful. And then all of a sudden, like the light switch came on and he just took off. And for the rest of the year, he was lights out. I don't know. He doesn't have a history of being that kind of pitcher. So I wonder about that one. Madrigal, I guess he's going to start at second base for the Cubs. But
I think he will. Yeah, I think they're planning on him being his second baseman.
yeah, but see now you were talking Rich before about Wisdom and Villar at third, but are you forgetting about Nico Herner? What about him? Where
I
does he
think he's
play?
going to be, at least in my mind, he's going to be the utility guy. I think.
But until
Madrigal-
last year, before he got hurt, he was starting and he was playing pretty well. I think he hit 290 last year.
Madrigal will probably be the second baseman. I don't see Horner or anybody else replacing him. He's a
He
a
was a-
very solid hitter.
He was a number 1
Okay.
draft pick, hit 300 in the minors. They traded Kimbrel for Madrigal, didn't they? I believe so.
I don't remember who it was, but they drafted somebody. Yeah,
I think he's going to be the second baseman. I think Horner will be the utility guy.
Yeah,
I think
that was a good pick. In 11th round, he took Elaine Thomas, the center fielder for the Nats. I don't know very much about Lane Thomas.
I think it was a pretty solid pick. He's one of those. A lot of sites have him as a sleeper. For where
Okay.
he took him around 11, you can make the argument for like Bohm or Senzel or something, or even McNeil, but Lane
McNeil,
Thomas
yeah.
might be a steal if he produces. And granted, that's the case with everybody, but I
Yeah.
don't think it was a horrible pick.
But don't the Nats still have Robles, right?
Yeah, but he's Robles and hasn't really put it together. And
He'll platoon against left-hand pitching, probably. That's it.
yeah,
Yeah, Robles has not been able to hit like above 230 or something like that. So he's always struggled.
And his first year, we thought he was going to be a star. At least I did.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah, in round 12, he took Rainey. I have no problem with that because at that point, if you can find a reliever that might get saves or is starting out having the position, I think that's great. And maybe Rainey can hold on to it for half a year. I don't know. But that was a pretty decent pick. Dominic Smith in round 13 is a gamble, but if he can return to the form he had a couple years ago, he was pretty good.
I love that pick myself.
Yeah. When Alonso 2 years ago was really struggling the first half of the year and wasn't doing anything, that's the year that Dominic Smith broke out, and he
And you
was doing
remember,
a lot.
it was
Yeah.
also the year that had the DH in the National League. And guess what? DH is back. So
Yep, exactly, Aaron. And that's probably, well, I'm sure Alonso sometimes will DH because he's not a great first baseman,
yeah,
but Dominic Smith will play first and the outfield. So if he can get back to his form, I think that was a really good pick. You know more about Jake Fraley, Aaron, than I do.
he's like I said. I could tell that Mike. I meant to. I was wondering if Mike used some of the same sources for his picks that I did because I saw Fraley a lot on a lot of different sleeper lists, and like I said, he has an opportunity in Cincinnati. Granted, by the time when he picked this, and by the time now rolled around, there's a lot of other players out there like Fom and I can't even go through all the different players that the Reds signed. I think they're just throwing everything against the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah,
Um,
I
I think
got you.
Fraley's a young player. He's going to get an opportunity. I think he has as much upside as Senzel, I believe, and I think he could end up being a, a worthwhile fantasy gamble. In 14th round, that's
Yeah,
a
that's good.
excellent pick.
Well, Mike does like taking some of the young guys. That's one of the things he said about that waiver thing you brought up, Aaron. He didn't like it at first because he likes to pick up free agents, especially
Yeah,
younger guys. If it's a second half of the year and if Mike's not in contention, then he likes to, pick up as many young guys as he can. I don't think any of his picks were terrible.
like
Lars
Lars
Newport, Lars
Newport.
Newport, I've heard a lot of good things about him, but I've never seen him play.
He's in the
But I,
same mold as Jake Fraley. Like
yeah,
he's
they're
high
high on him.
upside. I think Pujols signing with the Cardinals, it's another roster spot that's taken up and it's going to take
Yeah.
at bats away. So I think Pujols signing in a roundabout way makes it a little bit more difficult for him to get at bats.
Yeah, because I mean they have him listed here at right field, and I know that the Cardinals use O'Neill and they use Bader in center field. And who else did they have in the outfield?
Carlson,
Oh, Carlson. Yeah. So right there's
yeah,
their three starters. So Newbar's going to have a hard time breaking through that. Definitely.
yeah.
They're all good defensively. And then I liked his pick in round 18. I actually had to look this guy up because I didn't know anything about him. But River San Martin, he'll probably have a rotation spot with the Reds. Isn't that right?
Still trying to find him. Where is he? You said 18?
Round 18, yeah. Round 18.
I think he's in the contention. Right now, Hunter Green has a
Yeah, he just got
spot,
called up.
and apparently Nick Lodolo hasn't been ruled out as a potential candidate to um,
I
start
hear he
games.
might make it. I
Yeah,
hear he
he
might
might.
make the roster. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, he might. I heard he has great stuff. I mean, as a pitcher.
The one thing I liked about Michael's team was the keepers. Trey Turner, I think he's the number
yeah.
one
Oh
player
yeah.
in the
Oh my God,
NL.
yeah. Do you know,
Pro-
Mike, if I had my choice and if I would have wanted to, I think Trey Turner all around is the best player in the National League this year because the fact that Acuna is not gonna probably steal 40 bases.
I agree with you, Ken. I think you're
And I just don't know what to expect from Acuna. But the fact that this is a keeper league and I'll still have 3 more years with him. If he doesn't have a great year the first year, I can live with that, you know?
right.
But Trey Turner, I think all around for steals and some power and average and being on the best offense in baseball, I think he's probably going to be the number one fantasy player. I don't
I
think there's any
agree.
question.
And I think when you look at his other keepers, Bryce Harper, Francisco Lindor, who I
Yep.
think will
Austin
rebound a
Riley.
little bit, Austin Riley, who I
Yep.
think potentially could hit 40.
Yep.
So, yeah, he had some great keepers to build on.
Yeah. I see Mike really is finishing it. If all the teams that we have in the league stayed with the same roster the whole year, nobody made any moves, I would say Mike has a good chance of winning the league. Now, Aaron, you said you thought Mike might need a closer, maybe.
I agree with
Yeah,
that.
Yeah, and that's probably true. Mike historically does not usually carry many closers, or if any. Some years he's just had all starters because he figured he'd win strikeouts, and that would make up for the deficiency in saves.
there
Because I
there's
know he's. Yeah,
there's
go ahead,
some
Aaron.
legitimate scenarios where he doesn't. These two closers don't get a single save this year. There's legitimate scenario. I think Rainey probably has a better shot at getting some saves, but I don't see. We've already talked about that. I don't see him as the long-term option. I don't even know whether Finnegan's going to be the long-term option, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
So I mean, Mike's strength is obvious. It's his offense. His offense got to be very good, and his pitching. He has some good categories he looks strong in, but then he's got some that he's going to have to sharpen up maybe a little bit, maybe to stay in contention. I think saves obviously, but ERA and WHIP. I looked at his starters ERAs and WHIP projected, and they're kind of high. Some of them are in the fours, and the WHIPs. Some of them are like high 1.2s or threes, 1.3s even. And if you
Yeah.
carry pitchers that pitch a lot of innings and they have those kind of numbers, your overall team ERA or WHIP's not going to be that good. So,
But I think the one question is, could you win with this team, Kim? I
yeah, I
think
think
you
I
could.
could.
Yeah, I do
Yeah, maybe
too.
I'll offer Mike a trade. My team for
Yeah,
his team.
your
See if he'll
team
do
for
it.
his team. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's got a good base. So I'm
yeah.
with you.
Oh, he definitely, in my mind, Rich, he's got one of the top two teams right now before anybody makes any moves. Mike's team is definitely above at least 8 other teams. Yeah, I
And
would
he
say
doesn't
that.
have a single year four guy on this team, which
Nope,
is
that's good
crazy.
too. Yeah, he's set up for a couple good years. But Mike has to have a little patience. If he stays patient and waits for his better players to get out of their slumps, he'll be okay instead of like making some panic trades.
I might. I haven't seen Mike make a panic trade in a couple years. I think he'll be
Well,
okay.
that's good. That's good. I don't trade much with Mike, so I don't really get hardly any offers from him unless it's maybe like second half of the season and we can trade away the draft picks and he's just trying to, improve the team for next year or something.
Yeah.
But I just really, Aaron, I can't even analyze a 7-player trade for 3 or 4 players. I just
Yeah,
can't do
no,
it. It's
right.
just too much.
All
But
right,
yeah, go to the next team.
let's
We're good.
let's yeah, let's keep it moving. Jason, I'll do Jason's next. Um, some of his he he had an interesting draft. So I was like talking to Justin and Rich there during the draft, and I was commenting about how valuable I think closers are this year, more so than other years, because the scarcity of, you know, what I would call a consistent um,
Yeah.
top of the line closer. There's not very many of them this year, especially in the National League.
Mm.
And I was perfectly fine with Edwin Diaz at number 9, and Luis
Yeah.
Castilla. I think he's a legitimate first round player, so I had no problem with that. I do have a little bit of a problem with Gallegos at 2.3. You know, using that high pick with Diaz, like coming back and do Gallegos,
Yeah.
like
2 closers out of the first 3 picks. That is probably
he
unnecessary.
passed up on some really good starters like Ian Anderson, Chris Bassett, Clevenger, Malley, Josh Bell was a decent bat. He passed up on a lot of good talent there to go after Gallegos, and he does have some risk. I think he's probably going to more than likely be the closer, but there is some risk there. It's not a perfect situation.
Right.
Um, I'm not going to go through every one of his picks. Now he has a lot of risk on his team. Like Nelson Cruz, he's been doing it for a while. He's 40 plus. Zach Gallen's kind of already hurt. Um, but I don't have any problem with Flaherty. Flaherty's a great pitcher, especially around 4. If you could be patient with him, like I say, he should be fine after the first couple months, I would assume. But Brandon Crawford, I'm not a big fan, but he does produce.
Oh, I
So
had him last year. He was awesome last year, Aaron.
I know. Like I said, I'm not a big fan, but he does produce. I get it. Um, I think my favorite pick of Jason's, like I said, I'm not going to, was 12th round, 12.9, Lamont Wade. I know he's hurt right now, but he's a younger guy. He's on the Giants. There's not, if he comes back healthy, he actually had a pretty decent season last year. And I was actually looking at him when he got drafted. Had 18 home runs, 6 stolen bases, and basically playing a half a year. Like I said, that's not
It's not
not
bad.
too bad. Like I
Yeah.
said, I think I saw it for round 12.
Yep.
He did come back in with Victor Robles. We've already talked about him. It's 13th round. Hell, it's
Yep.
most of these picks are kind of lottery picks at that point. I'm
Yep.
surprised he didn't take Jake Fraley. Maybe he thought he was going to um, be there later.
Yeah.
Tyler Rogers, he has as good a shot for saves as anybody else, I believe. Going back and looking at his team, he has two closers. I'm sorry, two catchers playing. That's never a good
No,
scenario.
that's never
Trust
good.
me,
Never good.
I took two catchers last year. It didn't work out as well as I hoped it would have. Um, like I said, he has some questions on his squad. I wasn't a big fan of Justin Turner. He took him at 2.9 at the
Yeah.
end of the second round. He's 37 years old and has an injury history.
Yep.
I he does produce when he's out there on the field. I'll give him that. I'm just not that big a fan. Tyler Naquin's probably solid. Nelson Cruz, hell, he still produces.
Yeah. Can't argue with that.
Um,
The one thing I noticed though, Aaron, with him is he took too many guys that are already injured, and that's
yeah,
bad. That's bad. Plus, not only the guys that are injured, but there's some players that aren't injured, but they're question marks
yeah,
because of their age, and too many not safe picks, I would say.
yeah. He will probably win the league or win the category of saves, but that's
Yeah,
kind of a small
consolation prize,
compensation.
I would
I
say.
do like
Yeah.
Alex Cobb. I was really trying to decide between Alex Cobb and Alex Wood when I made my pick of Alex Wood. So I really like that pick. Bumgarner, not a huge fan anymore.
No.
Um, Charlie Morton, I know Rich is huge on him. Um, but yeah, he has a lot of question marks. I don't think he makes it in the top five um, this year. He has some decent players that he could build upon, and he could make some trades. And I think the fact that Kettle Marte signed a long-term contract bodes well for his dynasty value. So that's a good thing. Like I said, he has closers. I would probably, sell those off and try to get some more, probably power guys, um, more
Yeah.
established hitters. That's what I would do if I was him.
Yeah, I look at his team and I see his pitching as being his strength. And his offense probably is the worst in the league or very close to it. So he definitely needs more balance. He's got to try to maybe get rid of one closer because if you keep one solid closer along the way, you can find another one or two because it always happens. As the year
Yeah,
goes on, guys take jobs from other players and guys emerge when players get injured. And he can make up that along the way, but it does no good to, finish 20 or 30 saves ahead of the next closest team. And then your offense is at the bottom. I mean, that's not how you win fantasy.
yeah.
You got to
I
have
think
some balance.
historically closers haven't really brought a return worth their draft picks
Yes.
normally. However, I think last year we started to see that change a little bit. It seems to me that closers were much higher demand last year, and it took a lot more to get those players. So
Yep.
I'm going to reserve judgment on that. But like I said, I think he has a team to build upon. Maybe he can make some moves and But like I said, at this point, I don't know whether he finishes in the top 5. I think he finishes outside of it. But anyhow,
Yeah.
let's move on. Let's go to Rich. Who do you
Okay.
got next, Rich?
Michael didn't have a first round pick. Let's see. Michael didn't have a second round pick.
Wow, that is tough.
Yeah, he definitely had issues with draft pick. Granted, he was playing. I'll give him credit. He not a lot of teams will legitimately go for it all. And like I said, he did that last year. And granted, it was his first year in the league, but like I said, he did attempt to go for it, and you don't know how many opportunities you have to do that. So,
Did
yeah.
he finish fourth, Aaron, right behind me, I think, by like a point?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he was the last day of the season. I beat him by 1 run, and had that reversed, he would have been a half a point behind me. So it was really close.
Yeah, he had a good team.
Yeah, he did.
Really, his first pick was Brandon Belt in the third round. I don't, for me, Brandon Belt is a good player, but he stays hurt. He's 33 years old. Had a
Yep.
career year last year. I think there's just probably better players right there, and than in
Yeah.
round 3. And I think you probably could have got him maybe in round 6 or 7 or a little bit later. Going through War and Peace, I love his pick of Eddie Rosario. That's my probably favorite pick he picked because I wanted to pick Eddie Rosario.
You wanted a whole team
Go
of
figure.
Braves, Rich.
I
Yep.
did. If I could have picked Eddie Rosario, and I was kicking myself that he took Eddie Rosario. So maybe
Wow.
he'll trade me Eddie Rosario later. Then going through, he didn't have any more picks until we get into
Round 7.
7.
Wow.
round 7. And he took Evan Longoria, who I like, but again, he's a aged veteran. His best years behind him. He's 36 years old. He stays hurt. He's right now
He's going to be out till March 13th
March
at least.
13th. I think he could have
Even
got a
April
different
13th.
player right there. In round 7, maybe
I'm
got
sorry, May 13th.
Oh,
yeah.
May, okay.
He could have got maybe better value and picked up Longoria later.
Yeah.
Though I do think he's a good player. It's just a question of health. And then you go again. He didn't have a lot of picks until
And
round
eighth.
9. Was
He
it
had
8?
8. Yeah,
Yeah, he had
He
8
took
Daniel
behind.
Hudson.
He took Daniel Hudson. I like Daniel Hudson. I think he's going to be the backup to Trinan, and I think he's going to probably get some saves. If I
He
was,
could maybe get half a dozen.
yeah, I could see him getting 6 or 7 saves with good ratios. So I don't have a huge problem with that pick. And then going into round 9, he took Andrew Haney, and I'm with you, Kim. I kind of worry about the home runs. I know the Dodgers are good at fixing players, but he
Yeah.
has a big problem with giving up the long ball. So that would be my big concern. And the Dodgers have so many players. You got
They
to,
do.
especially with their starting pitchers, is
They do.
other than their elite, Julio Urias, Walker Bueller. How many
Yeah.
guys are going to get over 150 innings? There's not going to be very many. I can
No.
see him getting 120 innings.
Even Gonsolin, I don't think will get 150. He might get 100 to 120, maybe.
And it's hard. I love his pick in the 10th round, only
Oh,
so
yeah.
it can hurt Justin and hurt
And
Aaron.
Aaron, talk about him.
Tyler
Yeah.
Stevenson.
Yeah.
I think that's a good pick.
That's a very
I,
good pick.
I should have probably taken him over Suarez there, but I really, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, you wish you had that pick back. And
Probably.
I like Jeff McNeil to rebound in the round 11. He has infield, outfield eligibility. I
Yeah.
think he's going to start at second base. He had a terrible year last year. He's been a 300 hitter the 3 years previous with not a lot of power.
He's a doubles hitter, Rich. Yeah, doubles.
Yeah,
He'll
he's a doubles
sprinkle
guy.
in 10 or 12 homers, but he'll hit 40 plus doubles.
But I think he's a really good, solid pick in round 11. And then Alec Baum, at the time, I would have said, I'll be honest, during the draft, I would have said this was a good pick. now, knowing what I know, and I just listened to a podcast today, he's having a terrible spring. They're talking about him going to the minor leagues.
Yeah,
And they're
he
talking
just
about,
hasn't put it together.
yeah, they're talking about bringing up Bryson Stout. Is that his name? Putting him
Yeah,
at
Stott.
shortstop and moving DD to third base. So Alec
Wow.
Baum could end up in the minors to fix his swing because he's having a really tough time right now.
Well, one
But
thing
at
I
the
will say about
time,
that.
do
One
what?
thing, one thing I think we all agree that unfortunately with all the picks that he was missing this year, he's probably not going to really compete for the title this year. But the one thing about Baum though, if he got him really late, I do think he is talented enough to if he goes down in the minor leagues, if he can hold on to him and don't panic and don't drop him, if he holds on to him and stays patient, I think he does come back up and he he could live up to that potential that he had in what was it 19 that he broke out with. So
Yeah,
I
hit
think
300. Yeah.
where he's at, like it may not be, it may be a good pick just to hold on to.
You make a great point, Aaron. Especially this late in draft, especially if you're behind the eight ball, you're taking a shot on a young guy. I mean, he came up, was a big prospect, and
Mm-hmm.
lit it up, and then it's kind of had some trouble. So, yeah, if to be honest, back in the draft, I probably, I thought about taking Alec Baum there myself when I took Senzel. So I don't have a problem. I just, we know a little more information right now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
Tyler Miguel, I like Tyler Miguel. I think he reminds me a lot of your guy, Hernandez,
Oh yeah, yeah.
as a guy
Yep.
that's got some upside if he puts it together.
I had Tyler McGill on my roster either last year or the year before for maybe like a month or so, and then I ended up dropping him. But he does. I think he has pretty good control, as I recall.
He's got potential, so it's a matter of him putting it all together. And then
Yeah.
I really liked his 13th round pick. I like Stout's going to be really good.
Yeah.
I think he double tapped later and
Yeah, Didi.
took DD. So
Yeah.
I think that was a really smart play, double
Yeah.
tap.
Yep.
Jock, you're going late 16th round. I'm
Yeah,
with you,
I'm
Ken,
not as high on Jock Peterson as you are, Rich, or you, Aaron. I think he was best when he was with the Dodgers, but then I think part of that was they had a better lineup.
here,
Um,
true. I
he
think
Well,
has the
for
power. He has power, but he strikes out a lot, and he does hit like if you don't have some good average hitters on your fantasy team and he's in your lineup all year long, I mean, he has the potential to be at 220, 225 the whole year. And that's going to kill your average.
I think one thing San Francisco does, they platoon a lot. I think
Yeah.
he's going to face nothing but right-handers. He's going to be the left-hand side of the platoon,
Okay.
and
But if you look at who he's got also, and he's got Longoria, who's about a 250 average these days, and he's also got Belt, and Belt's not a real high average hitter either.
right.
I mean, his average team average is going to suffer.
yeah.
No doubt about it.
I don't see him being a great average guy, but I can see him hitting 230, 240, and rebounding and hitting
Maybe.
20,
Yeah.
25 bombs because they're doing the humidor this year.
Yeah.
The most humid city, I think I heard on a podcast today, the most humid city in America is San Francisco.
Really?
Yeah, it
Wow.
surprised me. I thought it would be in the South, but it was
Yeah.
San Diego. Was it San Diego? It was all the cities that are on the water.
Wow.
Tell you what, Cincinnati gets pretty damn humid in the summer.
What about Miami? Doesn't it get humid in Miami?
Yeah, I want to say Miami was in that list or something like that. But
Texas Rangers. That's a humid place.
it is a humid place. But it
Yeah.
was a lot of places they listed out like believe it or not,
Atlanta.
yeah, they didn't even list Atlanta because they
Wow.
said, yeah, that humidity doesn't have anything to do with heat. It has to do with the
Yeah.
water in the air.
Okay.
And all those ocean cities have a lot more humidity in their air, even though they don't have, I guess, the heat that comes with it a lot of times. So
Right.
anyway, that was interesting. But
Yeah, that is interesting.
Tyron Taylor, I don't see him playing, but he could be a 15-15 guy if he gets the playing time. And Nico Horner, your
Yep.
guy you're talking about, is 300 hitter. You're taking a shot on somebody. My
Yep.
biggest concern is probably just the power. But you know, I think Michael's a good player, so he'll probably figure out how to make the changes.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
this is going to be definitely a rebuilding year for him, and he's not going to finish in the top 5, I don't believe, unless some miraculous thing happens. But I think he just uses this year to kind of get some draft picks for next year and maybe cash in for some keepers. He does have some decent keepers going into the draft. Castellanos, Mookie Betts. Like I said, those. Well, granted, Castellanos is a year 4 and not a keeper, but he has Mookie Betts, Kershaw. That would be my advice to him this year. Um, give it a couple months, and then at that point, Castellanos, basically auction them off to the highest bidder. At some point, in the summer, somebody's going to be wanting a 300 hitter that can, mash in Philadelphia. So
Yeah.
I know that Justin's thinking about doing that with Tatis if he's out, but I think Castellanos is probably as good of a trade chip as anything else.
Good point.
Yeah.
All right, who do you got next, Kim?
Last team I have is Kevin, the Diamond Cutters.
Oh no.
Oh boy, I gotta watch it because I like Kevin. It's tough. It's tough for me to talk about teams of people that I like, and I don't want to, say bad things. Okay, we'll just start out with the draft. He picked Arenado in the first round. That was a good pick. Ian Anderson in the second round. I thought that was solid. I
That
like
was
Ian
going to be
Anderson.
I was planning to take Ian Anderson in the second round. I thought for sure I'd get him, and I'll be darned if Kevin didn't snatch him. But that's
Yeah.
all right.
Um, I wasn't excited about the third round pick. I know this guy's they're high on him. He looks like he's got the job as closer to start. Camilo Duvall. But I just think in the third round, especially for somebody that's never had that job, I just think that's kind of a gamble.
I think Knievel would have been a safer pick there. I
Yeah.
know Duvall has a lot of the track record, but he does, tend to walk some guys, and that's not a good thing for closers. And McGee hasn't pitched bad there, and I think McGee will probably get as many saves as Duvall there. So yeah,
Yeah. So
I'm
I,
there
I
with you.
thought, yeah, I didn't think that was a great pick. I like German Marquez at round 5, except that he plays in Colorado.
I
I
do
think
too.
he's probably got the best stuff on the Colorado staff, but I mean, he could easily have an ERA in the low to mid 4s, even if he pitches decent. So I'm not crazy about that. So he had like 2 picks in a row I was not very excited about. Colton Wong, I love that pick in the 5th round. I was actually going to take him in the 6th, but he never made it to me. So I was a little disappointed, but that was a very good pick. Round 6, he took Eduardo Escobar, third baseman for the Mets. I don't know. I don't know if I guess he used to play for Arizona. Is that correct? This Escobar?
Yes.
Yeah. And I know he has power. Um, and the Mets as a team don't have a lot of power. They have Alonso, but Lindor, he could have 20 home runs this year. They also have, JD Davis. I had him last year and I was very high on him and he was starting out really well and then he got hurt and he never came back and performed after that. Dominic Smith, if he's healthy, he could chip in with 20 homers. I just don't see the Mets having a lot of power. So probably for that reason alone, I think Escobar probably will hold the job unless he hits under 200.
No, Escobar's
Trevor,
going to have the job. I think it's a good pick.
Yeah, I'm saying it's a good pick, Rich. I'm saying he'll probably have more job security because they don't have a lot of power hitters on the Mets.
The real
Agreed.
question is about his next pick, Trevor Bauer. What do you think of that?
Yeah, see, to me, if Trevor Bauer comes back in the first month to two of the season, then it was a great pick. But if Trevor Bauer never comes back or doesn't come back until the second half of the year or something, then I think he was taking it way too early. Way too early. I mean, in the sixth round, I don't even know who I took in the sixth round. I took Jesus Aguilar
Yeah.
because I know that Aguilar is going to bat in the middle of their lineup, and I know he's a good RBI producer. Even if he only hits 18 to 20 home runs, I'm okay with that because he won't kill me in average, and he's going to produce. But with Bauer, this long layoff of his, we don't know what's going to happen. It's
Rich, what do you think about? I think Bauer's an interesting enough topic that we all should
yeah.
weigh on
I,
that. What do you think about Bauer?
I think nobody likes Bauer. I think if you ever
Oh,
watch
I
it,
like him. I like him, Rich.
yes. Well, I meant teammates don't like
Oh,
Bauer.
Yeah.
teammates. Okay, yeah,
Owners don't like Bauer. Coaches don't like Bauer. I think
yeah.
it's going to be suspended. I think the one good thing about Kevin Bauer is, let's say Kevin's playing for next year. Bauer comes back after a half season of being suspended, because I do believe he's going to be suspended. It's just a matter if
Okay.
it's 20, 40, 60, 80 games. But let's say it's 80, the full 80. He comes back half a season. Everybody's going to want to keep him because he's already done his suspension. He's going to be a
Hmm.
great year one keeper potentially. But for this year, I think it's going to be, it would be tough to take him.
This is
Yeah.
my opinion on Bauer. I think so. He was already out at least a half a season last year,
Okay.
Right.
and he's starting a year off here. They're going to make a decision early April on him. I don't. I, I really don't think they will extend his suspension much longer than he's already spent on the DL or on the, I guess, commissioner's list. But I could be wrong. Maybe he gets a couple more weeks, but I think he pitches earlier than later.
Okay.
I do think there's a strong possibility that the Dodgers do, once they find out what the penalty is, I think they do trade him to somebody else. Don't know who that could be. That could be a good thing. It could be a really bad thing, depending on where he lands. Because he's in the NL West, he probably won't go to any of the other NL West teams, I would assume. So you're looking at, potentially a change to the AL, which obviously that doesn't do well if you're in a NL only league for next year.
Yeah.
So there's a huge amount of risk in that pick. It could work out, but I don't know. I wouldn't take him that high myself.
Well, this is what I would say about that, Aaron. If I or somebody else had like three or four really good starters at that point, then it's not a bad pick because you're not counting on relying on him as one of your top starters. But if you don't have some good starters at that point and you gamble on this and it doesn't work out, then that could potentially just kill your draft. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we'll go into round 7. Gibson, he's decent starting pitcher. I'm not a Gibson fan. I'm not crazy about him. Pitches in Philly, the ball flies there. I mean, he used to pitch in Detroit, and I know he wasn't great in Detroit. So I personally would have probably picked somebody else in that round. Who did I take in the 7th?
Okay.
I
Just to
took
settle the, maybe I'm being a little I don't know focusing on last year, but like, would out of you two, would you have taken Luzardo or Gibson first?
I would have taken Luzardo.
Rich, what do you think?
Last year during the season, Gibson was hot.
Yes.
Luzardo was sucking. I would have taken, if off the wire. Now I would say Luzardo has more upside, and Luzardo is a better pitcher. But
Yeah, we were
at
talking. I was
at the
talking
All
last year
Star
about.
break, I would have taken Gibson.
No, I mean, as far as like this year in this draft,
This year, Luzardo all day long.
okay, just
Mhm.
curious.
Yeah.
I think my thing was sorry, Jason, for keep rubbing it in, but like I said, we were talking about who was a better keeper, and I was saying that Luzardo was a better keeper. I'm sure Jason will chime in at some point and tell me how stupid I am, which is, he might have a point there, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought it was a funny little argument that we had, so I was kind of joking around with him, and like I said, it was all good fun, at least from my end. It was.
Yeah. I think for me, Aaron and Rich, if I have two guys that are fairly equal in talent or stats, in almost every case, I've got to take the younger pitcher, whoever it
Yeah.
is, because the more innings you pitch, there's more chance for injury, and it's more harder to recover. Whereas you get a young guy that gets injured, and I mean they recover faster and they still have more life on their arm, than somebody 3-4 years older, whatever. So he might have a good year. That might look like a really good pick for Kevin. I mean, I don't know exactly who was available at that point for starting pitching. There probably weren't a lot of choices.
Well, no, and Luzardo, and
Oh, yeah, well, Luzardo, yeah, he's good.
yeah,
I like No too. Devin Williams is a reliever.
Yeah, I took him.
Yeah, it was getting slim, but there were a couple of options.
Yeah. Well, and I took Gonsolin in the 10th round.
yeah.
I would rather have Gonsolin than Gibson.
Mm, I'm not going to say one way or the other. I'd have to think about that one. I don't know
Only
whether.
only
That's
for the
close.
fact, Aaron, that Gonsolin's younger and he pitches for the Dodgers.
Yeah,
And
that's
the
true.
Dodgers, eh, you can be a mediocre pitcher and go to the Dodgers, and now all of a sudden you're an all-star.
Yeah,
So, anyways, we'll go to round 8. Luis Urias, I like that pick.
I do too.
He's got a lot of multiple eligibility. I know he can play pretty much everywhere in the infield and the outfield, I believe. And I think he's going to have a decent year. That was a good pick. Rowan Wick, I can't fault Kevin for picking there because at that point, there were probably hardly any closers that were expected to have the job at that point. And Rowan Wick, from everything I read at that point, he was supposed to be their closer to start the season.
Yeah, I think that's
So,
true. Yeah.
yeah, I think that was a good pick. Mark Canha, I like Mark Canha coming from the A's, but I did not know, even though he's got a good eye at the plate and he walks a lot, he's never been a really very good average hitter. Um, Usually like in the 230s, 220s, 230s. But then with his walks, his on base will be decent. But in this league, the on base doesn't really matter too much unless you score a lot of runs or steal bases. Um, but in the 10th round, I guess that's not too early to take somebody like that. I think he can play outfield and first base, I believe.
Yeah.
Rojas, I feel the same way about this pick, Rich, that you felt about Aaron's pick of the other Rojas.
Okay.
I mean, I had this Rojas before, and he was decent. He hit like around 270, 275. He stole, maybe a dozen bases. And at one time, even when I had him, the Marlins were batting him second usually. And that was really good. But if he bats at the bottom of the lineup, um, I don't think that it's going to work out to be a very good pick.
I think he's an underrated player myself. But
Yeah.
I don't know where he's going to have. There's a competition for him, but like I say, he hits for average, I think, and he may not steal a lot or hit a lot of power, but I think overall he could have done worse, in my opinion.
Yeah, he could have. He could have. 12th round, T1 Walker. That was a really good pick
Yeah.
because at that point, there aren't many starting pitchers available. So, Walker bounces back, has a good year. That'll be a steal for Kevin.
Plays for
Merrill
a good
Kelly.
team. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been high on Merrill Kelly. I don't really like him myself. I know at that point, Kevin, probably might have only been maybe actually like 4 or 5 starters that were guaranteed to be in a rotation. And so I can't fault him for that. I've just never been high on Merrill Kelly.
You know,
Go
yeah.
ahead, Rich.
One thing about Kelly that I do like, he did pitch for a good number of innings I mean,
He
when you
did.
look at starting pitching that late, he's a
Yeah,
guy
he did.
that can spot start, to me. And
Yeah.
if you have a lot
And,
of injuries, he's a guy you can put in there. You
yep.
probably would rather have somebody else, but he's a good guy to have on your bench or your last starter.
Yeah.
He's not gonna kill you. He's
No.
not gonna be a Mitch Keller who is either gonna be great or give
Right.
Hey
you a
now,
6 ERA,
Yeah.
So he's
But
kind of a safe pick.
4 picks before him is when I took Hernandez, Eliza Hernandez, 4 picks before Kelly. And I would rather have Hernandez all day long before Merrill Kelly, easily.
But yeah, and I agree with you, but I think the um, other side of that is Hernandez could pitch 50 innings and be done.
That's true. That's true, Rich. Yeah,
And
that's very true.
Kelly, Kelly's a
But
guy you
Kelly,
can maybe rotate between the bench and starting.
but if
Maybe
you
don't
if you don't
start him
if
if
you
he has
don't have
stop.
many starters and you have to use Kelly, he could deliver
Exactly.
a 4.5 ERA with a 135 to 140 whip.
You know
And
what I've learned? You can live with a 4.5 ERA. You can't live with a 5 or 6.
no,
that's
And
you
true.
can't. You
and
can't.
there are some pitchers out there that I used to try to double tap, take everybody that was a 2-start pitcher. That was my strategy. And
But it
I took
doesn't
a
work all the
lot
way.
of bad 2-start pitchers. And I learned
Yep.
pretty quickly, you better not take a 5 ERA 2-start pitcher because they're going to kill
Nope.
you.
No. And you
So
know what? You know what else doesn't work, Rich? And I tried this strategy and then it ended up backfiring on me, so I stopped. Is I would sometimes pick a pitcher and look at their home and away stats. And if they were really good at home and they had 2 starts that week at home, I would pick them up, even if it was a bad pitcher. And eventually that ended up backfiring on me,
well,
you
I'll
know?
tell you a story. Last year, my strategy was to take Herman Marquez, Colorado Rockies pitcher, and start him only away games
Right.
because his previous ERA away was like 2.90. It was really good.
Right.
And you know what he did last year? His away ERA was like 5, and his home ERA was like 3.2. So you never
Yeah.
can win
No, you
sometimes.
can't tell. You can never tell on that. And then in the round 14, he took your guy, Rich Hosmer.
He did take my guy.
That is
Yeah,
your
so
guy. Yep.
that was a good pick because at that point in the draft, there are probably hardly any players that are going to get 500 at bats, but Hosmer's one of them.
True.
And he's reliable. He doesn't get hurt hardly at all.
Will he really get 500 at bats this year?
I
I
think
think he
so.
will. Yeah, especially now that they have the DH. Because Voit most of the time I think will DH, and Hosmer will play first.
I think they'll
Maybe.
trade him, Aaron, if they can. But I'm with Kim. I think Voigt's going to be their DH. He gets hurt too much to play every day. Hosmer's a
True.
good defensive player. He's not a great bat, but he's got a big contract still.
Yeah. And in round 16, he didn't have a pick in 15. In 16, he took Wade Miley. Wade Miley's had some good seasons. That late in the draft, that's not a bad gamble. But
Had a
he
good
is
year
hurt
for
right.
me. Yeah.
He is hurt right now. That's a concern. Um, round 17, he took David Robertson, reliever for the Cubs. He could end up having the closer role if Wick doesn't come through. Then it'll probably be Robertson. And
Could
then
be.
18, he took McCann. Now, I'm not a McCann fan, and I thought last year he really underperformed, but it was his first year switching leagues. So maybe this year, he has a better season.
I
I don't
think the
know.
Mets are loaded this year, and I was hoping to get either Carson Kelly or James McCann, and I thought for sure I'd get one of them. I didn't think that Will would take it to second catcher, so I kind of got shafted there, but that's all right. So I think McCann's going to have a much better bounce back year. So
Yeah, I
take the
think he'll have a
18th
better
round.
year than last year, definitely. So for Kevin's team, I thought his strengths are, from what I looked at, wins and strikeouts. And he has good starting pitcher depth. I think he might have like 7 or 8 starters, which I think is really good. But of course, that's counting Bauer as one of them. So if Bauer doesn't start, then he's down to like 6 or 7. But I thought he has pitching depth. The weakness is he doesn't appear to have many stolen bases. His average is not going to be really good, and ERA and WHIP would be a concern if I was Kevin.
Yeah, as far as Kevin, I think Kevin could get as high as maybe 6th or 5th, depending on the year. One big question mark, which I'd like to ask you both about, is Cody Bellinger. He's having another horrible spring training, had some horrible seasons the last couple of years, former MVP. He's had a little bit of injury issues and constantly tinkering with his swing. What are your thoughts? If you had Bellinger on your team right now, would you say, okay, I'm writing him out, or would you try to deal him?
You can go first, Rich.
Oh, you want me to go first? Okay. I listen to a lot of baseball podcasts, but I was listening to Suarez talk this morning, and he brought up Bellinger and about all his strikeouts in spring training. And one thing he said is Cody Bellinger has more than one swing. He has his home run swing, and then he has a B swing when he's just trying to put the ball in play. He said what he noticed in spring training is he's going with his A swing 100% of the time. He's trying to hit the high fastball with his A swing, and it's not working. But he does have a secondary swing that he can slap the ball and put it in play. Me, I'm out on Cody Bellinger, but I just thought that was a good little piece.
Yeah, I mean, for me, he reminds me a lot of Adam Dunn. Remember how Adam Dunn either was having really good seasons, or he had a couple of years where he was batting in the 170s or 180s, I think, and he was even struggling hitting home runs then. But he did manage some years to have over 30 homers, but he'd bat like 185 or 190, and he struck out a ton. I mean, same thing with Chris Davis. Bellinger is having the same issue Chris Davis had for the Orioles, where he went from hitting 40, 50 home runs down to hitting 20, down to batting like 150 or 160. And the Orioles kept playing him. I mean, I was thinking, my God, why do you still have him on your roster? Bellinger, I think for the fact that he can play multiple positions, he doesn't play much first anymore. He plays center field usually, right?
That's
Yeah,
right.
I think so.
Yeah, and I think Betts plays right field.
He only has outfield eligibility this year.
Yeah, see, he doesn't even play first anymore. I would give him at least half a season. If he was on my roster right now, I would keep him for half of the year. And if he didn't show some sign that he was getting in a groove, then I would either drop him or trade him. I mean, I don't think you can get a lot for him if he's not doing anything.
Yeah.
What are you gonna get for him in a trade if he's not producing?
One more thing I just want to point out. He won an MVP. He's only 26.
Yeah.
He hit 47 bombs and hit 305 in 2019.
Yes, but Rich, look at Christian Yelich. I mean, something similar happened to him. What happened to him?
I think he's going to rebound a little bit. He's had a bad back.
Yeah. Do you think he'll ever hit power, though? Do you think he'll ever hit 20 or 25 home runs again?
I don't know. I mean, both these players would be people, if I was drafting, I would probably try to stay away. But if I had him as a keeper, I don't think I would be sad about it.
No.
I try to trade.
I would give them at least half a season. And if I felt like they weren't turning it around, I mean, if you have 250 at bats by the All-Star break and you're batting 180 or 190 and you have 10 home runs, then you try to either pawn him off on somebody or drop him. I mean, he's not doing you any good, you know?
Yeah, he's a scary player, boom or bust.
I was trying to trade for him in the offseason, and Kevin wasn't having anything to do with it. And then he actually offered me the same trade here right after the draft, like basically a starter for a player there. And I'm like, I can't do it now, man. Like if I'd have done this before the draft, then maybe, but I can't do it now. I did my draft based on what I had for keepers.
Opportunity, Aaron. Your
I
opportunity.
couldn't do it. And like
what starter did you have to give up?
I was going to give up Woodruff. He's a year 4.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
Well, I was before he was hitting like what 3 for 24 in spring training and changing his batting stance again and everything else. I'm like I said, I can't trade for him right now. There's
Oh
no
my
way I could
God.
trade for him right now.
Woodruff could win a Cy Young this year, Aaron.
Yeah, he could. And I thought this would be a perfect year for Bellinger to come back and like hit those 47 home runs or something. I still like him, but like I said, him constantly changing his swing and everything
Yeah.
else that's going on, like I can't give up anything for him right now. Like he'd have to prove it to give something up like that. I could probably trade something a lot less than Woodruff, but yeah,
And maybe after a couple months, if Kevin's not satisfied with him, maybe he'll pawn him off on somebody.
yeah, it could be.
One
Yeah,
thing, yeah, one thing I would do if I don't think I could win this year, and I'm looking at finish 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th, I would look to trade for like Bellinger.
yeah,
And I wouldn't give up a prospect, but I'd give up a good player. I wouldn't
yeah.
give up a guy that's going to be a keeper, but I'd
Yeah.
give a non-keeper for Cody and bet on the rebound. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a good prospect, I guess you'd say, as a
Yep.
potential keeper.
Knowing Kevin, he's not going to give up Bellinger unless he gets decent talent. And actually, like he still doesn't want to do Woodruff for Bellinger because Woodruff's a year 4 guy. I'm like, man,
Yep.
I don't know. I think I would trade. If I was in his shoes, I'd be like, yeah, give me Woodruff, anything you got, because right
Always
now I
take the
think
better player. Yeah.
Bellinger might be damaged goods at this point. So is Max the last person we're doing, or
I think so. Yeah.
all right?
You're up, Aaron.
So Max traded with me and actually moved down a couple times in the draft. He traded the Matt Olson pick for what ended up being Manny Machado and Carlos Rodon. Like I said, I can't trading down and getting Manny Machado. That's solid.
hmm
You could,
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
so
No, I think Rodon's a good pitcher.
Yeah, I do too.
that's an interesting one. So you know how we were talking about like being jaded, like having those players on your team that absolutely stunk, and then you,
Yeah.
you get jaded. Well, I'm kind of that way with Carlos Rodon. I'm in another dynasty league that's mixed league. I had Carlos Rodon on my team for at least 3 to 4 years with the White Sox. He stunk up the place every single year, and I kept on reading about how he was, going to turn it around. He's a high prospect. He's going to turn it around. And then last year, um, the White Sox cut him in spring
Yeah.
training, and then I dropped him in my dynasty league. I was like, well, okay, if the White Sox gave up on him, I'm giving up on him too. And I stuck with him for 3 or 4 painful years, and then I drop him, and then the White Sox re-sign him, and he has a phenomenal year, and then he goes to the Giants, and I'm like, are you kidding me? So I'm still jaded on that. So, but I do think Rodon is probably the surprise pick of the first round.
Yeah,
I'm not,
probably.
like I
I
said,
would
I don't
agree with
think
that.
anybody had him in the first round.
I agree with you. What do you
Um,
think, Rich?
I would say yes, but I'm not shocked by it. I think if you look at his whip and ERA last year and compare it
Yeah,
to like,
it was really good.
yeah, you compare it to Corbin Burns. You put them side by
Yeah.
side. You put
Right.
their ERA and whip. Carlos
Yep.
Rodon was almost identical. He
Yep.
didn't pitch as many innings, but look at their numbers. Look at their K rate. Look at their whip. Look at their ERA, and they were really close. But I'm
but
totally with you, Aaron. I'd be scared of him. But
but
I
like I
don't
said,
think he's a bad pick at 8.
yeah, like I said, like given like what he's done over the last few years, is 2021 kind of his new norm, or is it just kind of a blip on the radar? He's got paid, and I don't like I said I'm not sure. I think there's definitely some risk there. I do think he'll probably pitch closer to last year's numbers than like any of the years prior. So I'm not totally jaded, but I think the first round's kind of a reach for my blood. I probably would have slotted him in after Ian Anderson and probably Bassett, but yeah.
He's high upside, 0.96 whip, 2.37 ERA,
Yep.
185 Ks and 132 innings.
Yep.
I'm scared of him, but he dominated.
Yeah, he did. But Aaron was right. If you look at the 3 or 4 years before that, he was terrible, Rich.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
worst pitcher in baseball or close to it.
Yeah.
He was bad. Like I said, I struggled with him, and like I said, I am jaded on him, and I'll admit that. And yeah, but that doesn't make it a bad pick.
No,
That's probably the most surprise pick. I do think Manny Machado, he got a steal like with Machado dropping. He didn't drop that far, but I I don't think he could have asked for a better player at 6.
Yep.
I don't necessarily want to go through every single one of his picks. Let me he had Knievel, solid pick at the time.
Yeah, I still
Winfro,
like Castilla. Yeah.
I do like Winfro. I think he's going to be a solid power guy. DeSclafani, I think that's a very solid pick as well.
How
Segura,
about Connor Joe at round 7? What do you think of that pick?
interesting. I do like Connor Joe. I think he's a I think he's a decent pick. He's in Colorado. He's still some bases. He has some multi-position eligibility. It might have been a little bit high there. I think I would have liked Connor Joe a lot better in rounds maybe 8 and 9 or 10.
Yeah, because he took Yastrzemski right after him the next round, and I would have taken Yastrzemski before Connor Joe.
Yeah, probably. I would agree with you. I was looking at Connor Joe though, and I was selling myself on him, but like I said, not that high. Um, I really liked what he did in the latter part of the draft. Seth Beer, I'm
Yeah, that was a
not
good
sold
pick.
on. You like that pick?
I do. Yeah, I think he's
I know
going
he's
to be DH.
yeah
What round he picked Seth Beard, but as long as
9.
it's late,
Ninth round.
ninth might have been too early to be
Yeah,
honest, but
Yeah, I think a
ninth
little
was,
too early. Maybe 2 or
yeah,
3 rounds
I think
early.
he would have been a really good 12th, 13th round pick, I think.
Yeah.
But maybe he may not have been there. Who knows? I guess it depends on how high you are on him. Tapia, uh, like I don't know, with him going to the new team, I guess it's an okay pick. Um,
I wonder whether he'll start in Toronto, though. Toronto's got a good offense, you know?
yeah, he probably would be a bench player.
But one thing that helped Will was Grichuk getting traded from Toronto to Colorado.
Yeah,
That should help Tapia, maybe get more at bats.
yeah. I think, like I said, I think the Blue Jays are going to have a really dynamic offense, and the
Yeah,
fact that he's in the offense is probably a good thing. So,
probably. Yeah.
one of my favorite picks of the draft is Aaron Ashby.
Yeah, he got past me, Aaron. I didn't even have him written down. I don't know how I missed him, but after I saw the pick and I went and researched him, I was kicking myself.
It pisses me off too because just took Finnegan right in front of him. I
Yeah,
thought Ashby would last a couple more rounds. I guess my hope I didn't have a 12th, so I knew I was taking a risk not taking him in the 11th. But I thought I wanted another closer,
yeah,
and I wanted because there's just what are you
I
gonna do?
don't think Ashby would have. Yeah, I'm with you. Ashby was a real good pick.
yeah.
I really like the Ashby pick. Like it's probably like I said, it's out of the entire draft. That's probably my favorite pick of the draft.
Yeah.
Um, Corbin, not very high on him. Um, Haven Smith, it's 14th. I'll give him that's probably a pretty decent pick too there too. Um, he has another good pick here. Garrett Cooper's, he's an okay pick for the 15th round. Another solid pick here was Tyler Gilbert. I was seriously considered taking him there in the 16th round over Hira. Obviously, that decision got made for me. But I think Tyler Gilbert came up last year, had some good innings. He's a favorite to get a rotation spot this year. Like I said, that's kind of a lottery ticket. Like if he can pitch as good as he did last year, I think that's a really good pick there. Zach Davies, that's a solid pick in the 17th round. And Robinson Cano, I'm not very high on him, but it's the 18th round. What are you going to do?
Yeah, he gets injured a lot now.
Yeah. So I think his biggest strength is his young pitchers. I think he has a very underrated pitching staff. Anchored by Darvish, DeSclafani. His pitching staff will probably be a lot better than a lot of people will give him credit for. And he has Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo. They're both going to be. Green's going to be cracking the rotation to start the season. Lodolo could. So he has both of them going on. I just saw where Abrams could actually start the year in the majors since Tatis is out. They're seriously thinking about adding him to the 40-man rotation. So he has 3 minor leaguers that could be playing a role for him this year. I think ultimately his counting stats, offensive counting stats, are going to be terrible this year.
Yeah.
Home runs, RBIs, stolen bases. He's going to struggle with those offensive counting stats. He's going to probably be in the bottom half of the league. But like I said, I do like where the youngness of his team, and drafting a veteran team that's if you're not going to win this year, or if you're not in a very good position because of keepers or picks, drafting a veteran team isn't a very good way to improve. In my opinion, you draft young players, especially late, and hope that they, flourish and blossom. I think that's what Max did here, and I think he has a puncher's chance of cracking the top 5. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think he's, like I said, counting stats is where he's going to have issues at. But I do think I like this team going into the future. He has a lot of good young pitching, and I'd like to make it. I'd like to trade with him at some point this year.
Yeah, I agree. I like his pitching too, and you're right. Most of his players are young, so and they have upside. So I like a lot of his picks.
You got anything else to add, Kim? Or
No, I agree with both of you guys. I think if Max or Scott, whoever drafted the majority of the team, went with a lot of youth, that was probably the best option.
yeah,
Because if you're coming off a bad year and you don't have great keepers, but you have some good farm players, and then you add some other younger guys to it, at least in the second half of this year, if he does have any veterans that are playing well, he can always trade them away and just add on for next year, better keepers,
yep.
So I think he's doing the right thing. Yeah.
So that's all 10. Is there anything else we should add? Like I said, I don't want to necessarily dog anybody's team except maybe Kevin's. Just kidding.
Poor
Just kidding.
Kevin.
But yeah, I think I guess this is not necessarily meant to dog anybody's team, but it's more or less as far as the 3 of us have won the league several times, and I guess it's just kind of our 2 cents and what we feel. And I thought maybe doing this last year and doing it this year might help some of those players who hasn't won the league get an idea of what we think. And granted, we're not experts,
No.
but like I said, we've won the league a few times and kind of understand what goes into it. So it gives you the opportunity to hear how we think about the draft and the players and what we would do with these teams. So to help the other team players get better in the future. At least that's
Yeah.
the reason why I was originally doing this.
And I think, Aaron, what's really good is, Rich and I don't have the same strategy, and you and I don't have the same strategy.
Exactly.
So we're trying to point out that you can win more than one way,
That is very true.
and a player that might appeal to both of you two might not appeal to me. And so it's
Carlos
not like,
Rodon.
yeah, it's not like there's always a consensus like, yeah, well, all three of us love this guy. You can win in fantasy in so many different ways, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Yeah. Kim makes a great point. Aaron makes a great point too. If I say anything anybody doesn't agree with, it's probably because I'm wrong.
Yeah, right, Rich.
The more I learn, the less I know. So if I have a different thought than you, your thought's probably right, mine's wrong. But one thing I love about fantasy, I try to have fun with it, whether I win or lose, and just
Yeah.
try to enjoy the baseball.
Rich, whatever you do, it's working. I wouldn't go away from your formula, whatever it is, because it seems to work.
Thank you.
I
welcome.
wanted to say, this is Mike's league, or this is
Yeah.
Mike's year to win. If he doesn't win, then something tragically went wrong, or
It's on Mike if he doesn't
yeah,
win.
it's your year to win it, man. If you lose, it's on you. It's not.
Yep.
The pressure's on, so
Yeah, I agree. I think
good luck to
this
you.
year is set up. I'm going to go and say it's either Mike Davis or William. Either one of those two guys right now, I think, have the best roster. So unless they come up with a bunch of injuries, or if some of their players that they're counting on don't come through and they have subpar years, that's about the only way I could see things changing. But now